So what we're about today is what is generally called in our terms, the empath problem. That is, there are some people, yourselves included, who pick up on somebody else's pain, somebody else's emotions, physical pain, etc., and that becomes a difficulty for you. And we wanted to explore, since being somebody else could well be a part of our optimal EFT process and so on, we want to explore what to do about that issue. But the first thing we need to do is to really explore the issue. I've had many discussions with many of you about that issue. And I get different definitions. It works out differently for different people. So what I'd like to do is have anybody who wants to raise your hand for me, because I'm going to ask this question. Is the empathic experience you have a burden or is it a benefit? Anybody who wants to respond to that question, please do. We'll get started right there. Just raise your hand. Few hands are raised. Let me start off with Claudia Logan. All right. Hi, Claudia.
Hi there.
So, is it a burden or a benefit?
It's a benefit.
All right. Well, tell us how.
Well, you and I have talked about this before. It actually gives you additional information. And if you don't embed it and hold on to it and it's painful for you or causes physical sensations, as long as you let them flow through and don't hang on to it, it gives you all kinds of other information that then you can do something with, whether it's, understanding a little bit better what's going on with that person. In my professional life, it's always been of great benefit.
Yeah, and you're a nurse, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it just gives me information. I don't keep it. Sometimes you and I talked about this. Sometimes the sensation is in the body. I can feel their pain, but it's not excruciating. I just know where it is. And other times it's just information. I just know. Okay,
so but when you feel their pain, so to speak, you say it's not excruciating. Do you simply identify it? You get it like a 1% hit on it or something, or can you be a little more specific with that?
I can identify it. I know where it is. I can feel it in my physical body.
Do you feel pain? Wait. Do you feel pain in your physical body?
Sometimes the sensation is pain, but it isn't super intense. I can just feel the sensation, like say somebody has knee pain and all of a sudden I'll go, oh, it's the knee.
Okay, well, go ahead.
But, sometimes it's an electric kind of sensation. It's like energy.
Okay. So let me spit that back at you in my terms. So if I am empathic in the way you are describing it, and somebody has a knee pain, and maybe their knee pain is at a 10, they just had some kind of an injury or something like that, and it's at a 10 and it's throbbing and everything else, I might pick up, there's something with the knee. I can feel a little tingle in my knee. Maybe that's probably something about the knee. Did I say that right?
Yes.
But I'm not getting the throbbing, oh my God, pain. I'm picking it up and I'm going to have their pain for the next day or 2 or 3.
No, it doesn't stay with me. Sometimes I feel different sensations. Sometimes it's throbbing. Sometimes it's electric. Sometimes it's burning. There's, all those things that we ask when we, ask for information about what is it you feel in your physical body.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now step into the shoes for the moment, if you would, of somebody who, I'm sure somebody else will tell me about this because I got a lot of hands raised here. Somebody who picks up that knee pain, let's say, or even an emotional issue of big anxiety or something like that, and it's the full 10 that somebody else is experiencing, and it isn't there for the moment, it's there for the rest of the day or maybe a day or 2 or 3 later or something like that. Do you have any clue about how you just get a little piece of it and avoid the rest.
Well, I didn't always avoid the rest. There was a period of time for a long part of my life where I would hang on to it. But it's about allowing it to flow through us and not hold on to it for whatever reason. And that, as far as I interpret it, that's a core issue for us. As an empath, maybe as a child, well, more than likely as a child, you felt things about people, you felt their sadness, their grief, their whatever, and you might walk up to them and hold them and try to comfort them. And so that became reinforced. Oh, yes, when I do that, people love me.
Yes.
And so you tended to hold on to it. I had this actual conversation with a physician friend years ago, and he acknowledged, because he's such a good physician, I knew he was an empath as well. There's some level of that in my experience with the best in the field.
Yep.
But you learn to just let it go through you. But part of that is also dealing with your core issues and releasing them.
Well, good, and thank you. I think that's really helpful. One of the things that I want to pick up on is your example where, gee, from time on past, if I was feeling somebody else's pain, so to speak, being empathic, people would love me. That becomes then a benefit for this. It doesn't mean that applies to everybody, but it's one of the possibilities. And that plugs right into the EFT process. It becomes a specific event. Or a series of specific events where we have related this empathic process to getting love, for example.
Yes. And, people love it because, again, it's part of what we're dealing with now, or talking about, that connection that we make. Whether they acknowledge it consciously or not, they sense that connection because you've read them. You know what's going on with them.
Yeah. And you pick up, perhaps, again, I know I'm not speaking for everybody, but we want to explore all possibilities. So in current time, if you have this link we're talking about, empath means people love me sort of thing. In current time, people pick up that you feel their pain. This is a great rapport thing. We are in the same here. Okay, you are like me. I love you. Etc.
Right.
Oh, let's connect. Let's connect. There's a reward for that.
Yes.
Now, you also said you just let it go. Okay, well, that's nice. Okay, would you mind just telling us, everybody, how in 30 seconds they can just let it go, and then we'll be done with this whole workshop?
Well, it's a learning process. It's like channeling any other energy. We have to get our ego out of the way. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. We just know that it's coming through us and we're just the channel. It has nothing to do with me.
Well, okay, but that's just something you sort of do by default. That's not a tool that we can necessarily say to everybody. That's sort of like years ago, there was this comedy sketch that I saw on the Bob Newhart show, if you remember. He was a psychiatrist.
Yes.
And a lady came into him and said, I keep having this phobic reaction to something, spiders or something. And he said, well, I will give you the magic answer to that. And she said, yes. And he says, well, here's what you do. Stop it.
Yes.
And that was the answer. Stop it. Okay. And so they had a whole comedy routine about that. But so in a way, what we're talking about here, unless we can find some other tools, which we're going to explore, we just say, let it flow through you, is something like stop it, unless we have a way to let it flow through us. Are you able to tell us how you let it flow through you? What goes on?
Well, part of it is actually a mental process. It's, acknowledging that the empathy can also be compassion. part of it is compassion. You have compassion for that person, but you know that it's their, you acknowledge that it's their life, their choice. They're going to hang on to this. Healing is it's an agreement. They have to be at that space.
Yeah.
And as part of that, then you've done the work on yourself so that you don't step into something and take accountability for what's going on with them.
Yeah. Okay.
You're there to help them, but you're not there to and part of bringing their pain in is actually taking some of their karma, some of their issues.
Yeah. Okay. So what you're really talking about is a mental set that you do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if other people are going to be able just to adopt that mental set, but we got more exploring to do. Anything else you want to add, Claudia, before we move on? All right.
Perhaps later.
Okay. See you later. Hold on a second. Corrine France.
Yes. So for me, it's a gift.
It's a gift.
But I can feel that I can have had a lot of experiences feeling it as a real burden. Maybe, yeah, pain. So I have experienced both, and I still experience both sides of this ability to feel things because I feel them very strongly.
Okay, well, getting back to what Claudia was saying, and this example we had of the knee and this kind of thing. So if somebody has a pain of some kind, we're using knee as an example.
Yes.
Do you feel this little bit of a twinge maybe in your knee, or are you feeling a full knee?
Sometimes I just see it. If I see the knee of the person, I will see the pain. I can see energy particles and the density of the energy particles in the body. And depending on the density of the particles and their movement and color, I can see what's going on. So I can just see it and not feel it. Or some other times I will just experience it in myself. So
well,
it depends on.
But let me get you. You were talking about seeing particles in this knee example we're using. Okay, so I don't see those things. That's the first I've heard of anybody seeing particles, etc. I've heard of seeing auras and things like that. But you see particles. You visually see something that tells you there's a knee pain. You're in that example. You're not feeling it yourself in that example.
Yes, in that particular example, I don't feel it myself. In other instances, I could feel it directly in my body. Like when someone has cancer, I feel it. I feel it in the parts of my body where it is situated in them.
So if somebody has lung cancer, for example, you would feel in the lung area of your body.
Yeah.
Are you feeling a discomfort at that point? Are you feeling a real pain? Are you feeling exactly what they're feeling, or what?
For cancer, I can feel just the energy, the quality of the energy, because I'm really sensitive to energy. So I will feel the density of, because cancer is very often felt as a more or less dense combination of particles or cells. So that's how I feel it. I feel it very, very dense, and I cannot breathe. It's this kind of real discomfort. It's not. I don't feel pain. Sometimes I feel pain when it's very when it's at an advanced level, like terminal, or then I would feel pain. Or otherwise, I just feel a more or dense combination of energy particles, which can have me suffocate a lot if it's very dense.
Okay, so you can get to a point where you generate similar symptoms. You feel pain, like you feel pain and suffocation and other symptoms that you really don't want. It's beyond just identifying an issue.
Yes, I'm not wanting that. It just happens all the time. When I meet someone, I would feel it. So I'm not fighting against that, but at some point I didn't know that this was what was happening, that I was sorry, that I was feeling what people were experiencing. I just felt it was me. I was trying to interpret my feelings, thinking I was stressed or whatever. And then I came to realize that I was just having a feedback concerning other people. That's all.
Okay. So you started this off, Corinne, saying that it was a gift, and then you
Yes.
said to a degree some kind of a burden.
Mm-hmm.
So it would seem to me, and I'm guessing because I don't have any of this myself, okay?
Mm.
It would seem to me that you would really want to be able to identify the issue by some kind of minor thing in your body that says, oh, it's here, okay, kind of thing. And you would not want to have, like you were really feeling suffocated.
True. Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you for a second, just getting to the suffocated example. If you are feeling, you having a suffocating feeling, and assuming that mirrors what the client is feeling, the other person, does that not give you, as Claudia would say, more information that would be helpful to you to help them?
Yeah, sure. And yes, and I wanted to talk about that because when people say about, well, when you talk about picking up, for me, in my experience, I'm not picking up anything. I just get a biofeedback in my own body about the other person. That's all. But the thing is, if I think it's me, and if I don't realize it's just a feedback concerning the world around me, then I could attach myself to it and complicate things and not let it go. But now that I know that it's just a feedback, I can accept it, witness it, and use it to feel into my own. It's a bit tricky to talk about this, especially in English, I'm sorry. Now what I do is, I know it's a gift, I get the information, and I know that if I feel it that way very strongly, it means that I have to dare and be who I am with the gift I have and maybe bring something to the person so that things improve. So I have developed techniques and I have studied a lot of tools, EFT and others, energy healing, in order to have the ability to give something to the person. Yes, so what I wanted to say was that a few months ago I realized that when I don't give the gift I could give to the person, considering I know something about them that might be helpful, I keep it for me. I would go away and then still have that energy, that energetic feeling, even though I'm not with the person anymore. But since I discovered that, each time I feel something, I would either just love and bring love to the person and myself in that situation, or maybe give an information I'm receiving, some words. And when I do that, it's over. I don't feel the symptoms anymore. I have given my gift and I can let it go, but I have done what I had to do. Okay,
thank you for that. I'm going to interject a thing or two here. So if I get what you're saying correctly, you will have this reaction with these because of somebody else has something, you have a reaction to it within yourself. But the difference between the earlier times when you were doing this and now is the fact that you currently recognize what is happening, whereas before you didn't recognize what was happening. You didn't recognize it was a gift, for example. You didn't recognize it was something to help somebody. You thought maybe something was wrong with you. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so once you recognize that, you realize it really wasn't you after all going, and then just the mere recognition, if I've got it right, the mere recognition dissipates the feeling within you. Yes, no?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes it dissipates, and sometimes it just dissipates. I just get the feedback. I know it's a feedback, so then I can feel myself as different than the other person. But at other times, even though I would recognize that, I still feel something inside of me. And then I know it's a sign that I have something to bring to the situation.
I didn't quite get that. But once you have understood that you have something to bring to the situation, using your terms, can you then let it go? It no longer bothers you in your body?
If I do what I feel I have to do, yes. If I don't do it, it will continue. I really have realized that I have a gift to give to the person or to the situation, to myself in that situation. If I don't do it, I cannot just think, okay, I'm letting it go, or I pray, or I bring the anesthesia therapist. I really am in this oneness consciousness. You know, I feel everything. I feel everything all the time, not just my individual person. But this helps me become just the individual person I am, to realize I really have, if I come across someone who has a problem and I feel it strongly in my body and I cannot let it go like that, it means I might have something to bring to the situation. If I do it, I fully embody the individual that I am, the individual person I am, even though we are in a oneness consciousness. Is it clear?
When you say, though, Corinne, that you do it, you've said that several times. When you do it, then you have this other recognition. What is it? Where does the do it part of it? What do you do?
Okay. It can take several forms. What I'd like to say, thank you for this question, is that Claudia said she puts the ego away and lets something, you know, the divine or something go through her, flowing through her without having the ego doing anything. My experience is that in order not to be in the ego, I have, and being so sensitive to all that is happening around me, my first reaction, my usual reaction was to retrieve, you know, to just be alone because it would be too much for me. And that's an ego thing too, to just hide all the time. It's because you don't want to be hurt. So what I've come to integrate now is that there's the ego, let us say that as an individual, I came as an individual on earth because there's something that I had to experience as an individual, and this thing needs to be honored, respected, and fully activated in the person I am, even though we are all one.
Okay.
So what I would do would be to use the personal individual gift that I have, that is of course connected to the divine part of myself. Let it come through me, but it's a part of me. It's me. It's that, you know. So just to dare and be the individual I am with the gifts I have, and bring that knowledge, love, information to the person that seems to be in need.
Okay.
And of course, the person is in need, but I'm also in need. We are both connected in that situation. It helps both and the whole.
Yeah, and I think that's a worthwhile distinction, I think. Okay, I'm going to thank you, Corinne. Very, very, very helpful. There's somebody else here who's got their hand raised I want to speak with for a minute, but let me, just a minute, I need to mute you. I will go on to Lawrence.
Hi, Gary, you hear me?
You have some of an accent as well, so I'm having a little difficulty getting everything that you're saying. So if you would start over again a little more slowly if you could. Yeah, I think I've got it, but I'm going to say it back in my words if I can, just to make sure that I'm clear on that. So,
yes.
From an empathic point of view, in the past, you've used this as information. Now, when you try to use optimal EFT with your clients, you have a different response, and although you didn't say it, I'm going to put in here the idea that you are becoming one with the client, which actually triggers right into the empathic thing, and that may be my problem, my error in describing all of this. But you do that, and as a result of that, you get pains of your own, a stomach thing, for example, etc., that you don't want, and that become, this is my term, a burden in the process. So you devise a way so that you're not really, now you're not saying this is me trying to overlay what I think I'm hearing. You devise some process where you're not really one with them in your imagination. You're not really trying to feel what they're going through. You've sort of got them over there and you over here, and you're sort of sending it back and forth, but not picking it up. You didn't really say those words that way, but that's what I'm hearing. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if I get what you're doing there, and this is something I think we've touched on in our larger webinars before, and that is, it was probably my error to say, oh, just become one with your client, feel what they're feeling, and so on. But what I was always meaning with that is something like what Claudia was talking about to begin with. Yeah, become one with your client, great, because that's just, to me, embeds more and more the idea of the oneness. So become one with the client. But I don't really want to feel their headache and feel their stomach pain and feel their intense anxiety. I want to more like identify it. Just understand that it's there in a more of an academic way rather than feeling it myself. Bring in unseen therapists, and that's what I do. I don't see any problem, and nobody has seen any deterioration in the results by having the client over here in their own little bubble, let's say, if you want, and you over here in your bubble, and maybe surround the whole thing with a bigger oneness bubble. But they have their thing and you have yours. You're recognizing them because they tell you about them, but then bring in unseen therapists over the whole situation, leaving them in their bubble, because that helps you separate it. Now, those are all my words, not yours, but did I hit the target?
Yes. Yes.
Well, Claudia has her hand up again. I know there's other here, but let me unmute you, Claudia. Go ahead.
You know, I find some really interesting similarity in what we're all saying. We're just perhaps expressing it just slightly differently. But what Karim said was, when I get the information for the client, I give it to them. If I don't, then I'm holding on to something. That's essentially, maybe we're all foreigners. Maybe I wasn't expressing it quite as clearly. But what I see that is how I was saying, you just let it flow. It doesn't become part of me. It's like I'm in integrity. I accept that I have this gift, but part of that is also not attaching to it. It's like I don't do anything to it. It's just coming, and I'm giving that information back. If I'm thinking I'm actually doing something, that's when I attach to it. And we're all saying something very, very similar.
Yes.
I still think all of us have this ability. I think we turn it off as children, as part of our traumatic events. I thought I had more of it because I was a twin, and that whole thing about twins communicate telepathically and whatever. I really do believe we all have this ability to some extent, whether we allow it or whether we shut it off earlier.
Well, in the more theoretical sense, we are all one, so we must all have it.
Yes.
And yes, we shut things off and all that stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Use it in different ways and so on. So, all right, great. Thank you, Claudia. Mm-hmm. Let me talk to Martha.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi there. Let's see where to start with all this. I could probably talk about this for hours. I'll try to keep it down.
Please, we need to be concise if we can.
Yes. Well, I've kind of always known I was empathic since I was a kid. Been there since as long as I can remember. And I started out experimenting with being a medium and a channel and automatic writing by 12. So whether it's with entities or emotions or physical sensations, I've been kind of dealing with this my whole life. Physical things I don't feel quite as much. It's more just a knowing of it being there. And sometimes it did result in a physical manifestation of the disease. I was particularly sensitive to emotions. Those would really seem like they were my own. So let's see. I'm also kind of a seer like Karine, so I do see physical things in my eyes and my consciousness, how things appear. And I've come to the conclusion that it's not just a one thing that I do to live with this and live well with it. It's really a skill set that I've had to learn. I've had to develop a really honest relationship with my body, because I do think that it is a process of the body, which is controlled by my beliefs and my mindset. So I've had to train my body to behave the way that I want it to, when I want it to. One of the first things that I've had to do is recognize my body's intelligence and develop a way for my body to tell me when this belongs to someone else and when this is my own. And the body, everyone's body is going to have a little bit of a different sensation for that, but we all do have it. And you just ask it. So that's like one of the first exercises that people can use is body. You know, what does it feel like when this belongs to someone else? Where is this coming from? Is this mine?
Yeah, and that is part of the idea we've explored, I think, a bit before, and it's about recognizing the problem to begin with, recognizing it's somebody else's issue, and not.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So that's one of the first things in the process, and people can just spend a few days, no matter what you feel. Who does this belong to? Where is this coming from? And let your body tell you, and do it with everything. And you'll find out that with empathic people, 95% of everything that's coming to us is not our own. So once you acknowledge that that's there, that's information that's coming from outside, and that is one of the places that mindset comes in. Changing your belief system from, this is something that's going to hurt me, this is something, you know, I'm a victim in this is something I can't turn off, this is, I'm the weak one. There are, you know, as many variations on that of me being a victim of this and being subject to its whims and this thing outside of yourself. Being a mindset or a belief that can be cleared through, you know, EFT and, you know, all sorts of things that we come into contact with as far as changing mindset and beliefs. And other practices that I found really helpful are working with it and developing it. A lot of people are probably a little turned off by magic and ritual magic folks, but that's something that they're really good at, is training the mind, centering on self, centering on others, centering on self, centering on fathers, centering on self, centering on the plant, on a plant in the room, centering on self, centering on the universe, doing this back and forth, that really gets you so that you can start to do this quickly. Let's see, I've developed, you can do a flush where unseen therapist flushes the other foreign information out, letting it go. There are kinds of magic words that you can create that will carry out complex subconscious and energetic processes within a matter of a second or two. Let's see. Collapsing all of the experience, like what you were just talking about, going through and collapsing all the bad experiences and the overwhelm and all of that comes from having all of that extra information. I've tried the protection and the white light kind of thing. The one thing I've noticed that it's really common for empaths and people who are learning about this kind of stuff is the protection and the protection spell and the protection white light. And what I've found is that it really doesn't work in the long run, and it actually kind of hurts you because it reinforces the idea that there's something we need to be protected from. And it's not true. I mean, it's really about learning to receive everything and have it move out all at the same time. It's about increasing the amount of energy that's going through your body. It's about increasing your awareness, increasing your awareness of the whole, and allowing it to pass through you. And that's really where the art of it comes from, and it's really counterintuitive for people because they want to shut down.
That brings up a thought for me, and I'm going to ask you a question maybe nobody's ever asked you before, okay?
Okay.
For all the empaths listening, it may be a question nobody's ever asked you either, or you even asked yourself, okay? But I'm very curious about this. As I understand it, from the multiple empaths I've now corresponded with and talked to, what you are picking up are all these negative things, the pains in the body, the negative emotions, so on and so on. Do you not also pick up the joy and the beauty?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, okay, but let me stop. Do you, I mean, obviously you don't need to protect yourself from this, or don't need to, or do you need to just let it flow through you, or do you just bathe in it, or what do you do?
And it's easier to bathe in the good emotions than it is the negative ones. I think people in this reality, in this time period, tend to be a little more negatively focused than positively focused. So I think we end up getting a lot more negative than positive. But it's also possible to be overwhelmed by the good emotions as well and feel smothered. Although it seems, because you're willing to receive it, it's easier to take the good ones because they feel good. And I think that's a part of making that easier to deal with, the good emotions.
Well, just for your knowledge and for those listening in, this is the first time I've ever heard anybody who's talking about the empathic situation telling me about the joy that's possible through this. That's neither good nor bad. It's just an observation. You're the first one that I've heard about. It's always the problem, the problem, the problem, the problem, the problem. And so I don't know what to do about that. I'm just putting out on the table for people to.
Well, that's a part of the law of attraction. What you focus on is what you become. If you focus on the problem and the negative aspects of this to the exclusion of everything else, that you will create more of that. So I think that's where the exercises, daily exercises, especially if this is something that's a big part of people's lives and something that they're experiencing, is something really important to take your focus out on. I'm going to empathically be aware of my cat. I'm going to be empathically aware of nature today for at least 15 minutes or so. And that helps balance out the negative stuff that's coming in.
Since we are all one, and since that oneness is really nothing but love, joy, and all of that, all these negative things are stuff piled up on top of the true nature of joy. That's my view. That works?
Yeah, I think so. It's the coming from the point of awareness within the whole that brings us the negative. And yeah, being in unseen therapists, that energy space really helps clear out a lot of all of this being seen as negative.
Well, the point I want to make with that is there's a real opportunity here. How to do it, maybe we need to explore some more. But the opportunity is if at the very core of everyone, including yourselves, is this joyous nature, how can we empathically burrow down beneath all the negative coverings, get down to the joyous nature and pull that out of there and really bathe in that? I mean, I don't know if you have an answer for that or not, Martha, but that's, I'm putting that out on the table as...
Yeah, a little bit in that. I think that's where the self-work and meditation comes in, being firmly centered in self and in higher self. and working from that place yeah, being aware of where the different levels that all this information is coming from, and being firmly centered in the self and in the higher self seems to work.
All right. Okay, Martha, thank you so much. I need to move on.
Sure.
Thank you. Danielle.
Yes. Hello, Gary.
Hi.
What I wanted to say, I noticed, yeah, I'm an empath for a long time, but I noticed that during a time I was very depressed, when I was with some people, my depression would vanish. And now I live in Las Vegas, and if for some reason I feel in a funk, I go somewhere on the strip where people are happy. I go dance where people are happy, and I come back in a totally different mood.
Huh. Okay. So that's a way of picking yourself up out of
other people's energy.
Out of the burden part of it.
Yes.
And picking up on a benefit part of it. Okay.
Yep.
But now what would be more useful is to find some way so that the burden part of it just doesn't bother you. And the benefit part of it really...
Well, I can do the tapping. I can also do meditation. I have different ways. But to me, that's a fun way to pick myself up.
Yeah. Okay.
And it means, you know, hey, it's time for you to go out and have fun for a while.
All right, great. All right, thanks, Danielle.
Okay.
Well, here's Corinne again.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Yes. I'll try to keep it short. It's not easy, but I'm very passionate about this subject. I do too, of course, experience great things being an empath. It's just, you know, like was said before, we just have the ability to feel the whole world in ourselves. So good things feel good and horrors feel horrible. But it's just life. We are just very much sensitive to life as it is. So I guess what can be interesting for people who are very sensitive as we are is to bring what we can bring into this world so that it feels better to the whole, to ourselves and to the whole. So I find your question very much interesting. So concerning how we could, you know, dive into the real joy, truth, light that is the nature of everything that is, and to develop it so that the emotional debris and all these things that don't feel so comfortable to us can just vanish, and we can stay in that natural state of well-being. And actually, I have practiced a lot of EFT, and I came to the point where I realized, oh, so there is really no drama, actually. All beliefs are just those things written on our walls, but we can erase them through EFT, for example, and then rewrite them as we wish. And rewriting them, like I think Martha was saying, I do agree with everything that Martha has shared. It's beautifully stated, and I love this. Working on our beliefs, yeah, it really is important to just maybe clear the limiting beliefs and beliefs that create suffering in us, and just creatively state that what we feel, what we see, has a different meaning than the one we have always put to it. And that's what I'm practicing now. I've been practicing it for a few days now, and I feel less pain, less suffocation. I really can emanate more calm, light, and feel more integrity in myself. And I can bear in something. I can stand more easily what's happening around me if it's not very, if the sensations that I could have had experienced before come again, I don't experience them the same way. And sometimes I don't experience them at all. If people suffer, I can feel I can just emanate something. I'm not in a victimhood state when I just choose to write, to have no belief at all, or if I have beliefs, I choose positive beliefs.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of details to what you do, and I don't know that we're going to go through all the
Sure.
all the bullet points, etc. But I do have in mind something that's picking up on some of what you said and some of what I've heard today. And it's an exercise I think we can do together to assist in some of this.
Yes.
And so let me just discuss for a moment with everybody what this would be. It would be a group healing thing similar to what we've done on our previous webinars. What each of you would do, and I'm going to give you a little while to do that, in fact you might do it while I'm talking here, is to make a list of negative empathic things that have happened to you in the past, specific events. The time I was in the movie theater, walked by this person and my stomach hurt, okay? That's a specific event. Make a list of those that really got to you. The time I was in the hospital and I could feel somebody's cancer pain. The time, all this, okay? Make a list of these things that are unique to you, the negative things you specifically have experienced, okay? And give them some kind of a number. As you recall them now, are they still a 10? Are they an 8? Are they a 6? You know, give them some kind of a current number. Okay? So, as everybody has their list, then what we will do is everyone close their eyes. I'll walk you through this. And we will put everyone in the same love ball as we have done in past webinars. And we will not be working on our own specific ones. We're going to work on everybody else's. We are going to have unseen therapists send love out through the whole ball and everyone else's empathic reactions. The anger, the grief, the guilt, the trauma, the physical things you feel, and so on. We're going to send throughout that. And of course, everybody else is sending to you as you're sending out to everyone else. I want to see what happens. We'll have some more hands raised afterwards, good, bad, or otherwise. So let me right now give you, doesn't take it that long, you probably made a list already, but I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go ahead, a little silence here, make up your list. Okay, the minute is up. Whatever you got on your list is fine. If you didn't get a big number or something like that, that's okay. Whatever you've got is fine. But hopefully you've put some level of intensity with it, because we're going to compare that level of intensity after we do this. You know, we're going to have the before and after thing and all of that. So you've simply identified your own issues. You need not spend any more mental time on your own issues. Okay. We are going to jointly create love in this ball for everyone and everyone's negative empathic issues. So if you would, close your eyes and get into a nice, quiet space. And then imagine this large love ball that it contains everyone on this call, all 29 of us, each of which has empathic reactions negative empathic reactions that we would like to reduce or have them be less painful. Bring in unseen therapists, light, gentleness, however you do it. Spread that throughout the whole ball for everyone's, not just yours, everyone's issues. 2 minutes. I'll check back with you. Okay, guys. Now, if you would, I'm going to give you 1 more minute to go back and look at your list and now assess as you revisit them if the number, the intensity number from 0 to 10 has changed, up, down, sideways, whatever it may be. 1 minute. Then we'll compare notes. Okay, that's the minute. So what I'd like to have you guys now do is raise your hands, because I'd like to be discussing with you whatever your experience was. I see Pandora's hands raised here. So Pandora?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Oh my gosh, finally my microphone works.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure how to do this because you mentioned something about it being positively reinforced. So I got praised for being able to know what people felt, and they said, oh, you're something special. So I got positive attention from my mom because I could always tell her feelings over the phone, and we would spend hours and hours talking. What happened was 4 years ago she died, and she eventually wound up in the wheelchair because of her knees hurting and her back hurting and her whole body hurting. So I no longer have that emotional connection that I used to have with her that she would praise me for. Since she died, I'm taking on all her physical symptoms. I'm limping along, all my joints hurt, and it just occurred to me today for the first time that it's almost like unconsciously seeking approval and seeking the, oh, look at you, aren't you special? You can feel all these strong emotions, and this was a big aha for me today.
Well, that plugs in, Pandora, to something that Claudia was talking about to begin with, and that is we have a built-in, motivation, some of us, for that. Now, and thank you for that. My question to you, though, is did you have a chance to assess your empathic issues before and after what we just did?
When I closed my eyes, I got into this movie of connecting with my mother. I'm not sure yet what the outcome is.
Okay.
It was just a smooth, I couldn't follow. Usually I'm pretty good with inviting the unseen therapist. It's almost like something was pulling me to merge and get this information that I told you about. Okay,
so in this case, you weren't really able to do it because you had some competing things. One of the things that's really useful here, and thank you for that, Pandora, is this competing stuff often comes in. It's the guard at the gate actually at work out there, trying to distract us and one thing and another. So it happens with some frequency. But you can use unseen therapists for that block, if you will, or you can even tap, even though I have this block, or even though I'm not able to focus, you can do that as well. And then you're more likely to be able to focus better on next time. So anyway, I thank you, Pandora.
Thank you.
So here we have Martha. Go ahead.
Hello. All right. So I had two things that I came up with. The first that started out with a stronger at about a 6 was this sort of overwhelm and confusion that I still sometimes get when I get really involved in the mundane life and get focused off, get uncentered basically, and just get overwhelmed with the emotions and stuff that come in. And that started out as 6, went down to about a 3. And the second one was I called it the rage of my father. Probably like a lot of people, I had a rather emotional childhood with abuse, and that was something that was always coming at me, and I was really hypersensitive to, was feeling the rage coming from my father. And I worked on that quite a bit, and that started out at a 3, and when I focused back in on it after the work, it's at a 0. And it's not even at just a bland nothingness. It went to that feeling of oneness, that feeling of love and peace and wholeness and the centeredness. So that was really pretty cool.
Okay, but the first one went from a 6 to a what?
A 3.
6 to a 3 and a 3 to a 0. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. This is a beginning type exercise for everyone. It is not necessarily the exercise, but it's one I think is going to be very useful for you, whether or not you've got results this time, to make a list, your own version of a personal peace procedure, which we have described on our website, listing these empathic things. And as you list them, just like I did with Paula, who I talked with earlier, and she and I collapsed them together on a previous phone thing, you can do that with your own. The more you collapse, the freer, this is my idea anyway, the freer you will become of the negative empathic reactions. It may take some practice. I'm going to want feedback from you. Did it work? Did it not work? Where do you have challenges with it? All of that. So anyway, it's sort of a beginning little exercise there. Anything more, Martha?
Nope, that's pretty much the report.
All right, thanks. All right, and Karine.
Yes. I also had 2 specific events I worked on. The first one was at a 7 and it became a 5, and the second one was a 5 and it became a 4.
Okay, those are small movements.
Yes, but that's nice.
It's nice. It's a beginning. It's a beginning. I'm
Yeah.
just pointing out it's a small movement. Go ahead, Claudia.
I find the synergy of this is very interesting because all of us have had just very similar drop. Mine went from a 5, or I did 3. Mine went from a 5 to a 3, a 7 to a 5, and a 6 to a 1.
Okay. All right. So what we don't know about this, see, this is just a beginning tool. Okay. What we don't know about this is how much more good additional rounds of this would be. We don't know that. Okay. We don't know how deep we can go with these. We don't know that. We only know that by future practice here. So we also don't know whether or not you have switched aspects. And that is something for those of you who are familiar with EFT, happens a lot. Like you say you went from a 7 to a 5 on one. I didn't even know what it was. But it would not surprise me to learn, just because I've been around this a long time. You actually went from a 7 to a 0, but some other related thing come up as it's now a 5 and you're reporting the 5. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying it happens often enough that we need to pay attention to that. Okay, but that's just one. So the one thing we can conclude so far is, yes, we are getting some results by this. How far we can go, we don't know, but we got to try. Anything more, Claudia?
Well, I just, how do I say this? Again, it's perhaps having to do with, we're all expressing the same attitude towards our empathy. If you're in your integrity, you know that things come and go and you don't have to attach to them. All of us have said it's a process. We've learned how to let it flow through, release it, not attach to it, however we're expressing it. And maybe some of this is maybe it's a little bit of the guard at the gate. It's like, if I let it go, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Is it going to come back at me in the burden state, rather?
Good, really good point in there, because one of the messages that people have said, but I'm hearing, is that this empathic thing, even though it can for some be a burden or torture, as it has been called, okay, can also be a part of our identity. It is part of who we are, or at least what we have developed, our own self-identification. So if we let it go, my goodness, we are letting go of our identity. That's the guard at the gate saying, oh, you're separate, you're separate. See, and this empathic thing keeps you separate. It's one of your badges, if you will, or one of your features.
But what I also notice is that, those of us who have expressed this can be a really positive thing, have gotten to the point, either through a spiritual practice, through what we've done, personal expansion and growth, that, we also pick up positive energies. It's like when I meet someone, I can sense their energy and, oh, this person is really nice energy. It's like you feel the positiveness. You don't only focus on the negative. And like all of us have said, yes, it's easy to feel negative much more intensely.
Yeah.
And that's probably a very primal thing in the human body, that for safety reasons, you do feel something coming at you that is not good.
It's part of a survivor thing.
Yeah.
What we'd like to do is to get the joy thing a little higher on the scale.
Right.
Okay.
And in order to do that, we have to feel not attacked by it.
Right. So if we use exercises like I just did, that is a way, not the way, it is a way to help, lower the intensity. All right, great, thanks. All right. So, for all of you, my empathic best big hug. Okay. Bye, all.